We're going to go to Marika Walsh right now, who's with the Premier.
Hi, Ron. Thank you. Yes, we're here with Premier Stephen McNeil. He is going to form government. Premier, we don't yet know whether it will actually be a majority or a minority. What are you thinking about right now?
I'm thinking how grateful I am for this room, for the people of this constituency who have given me another opportunity to represent them. I'm grateful to the people of Nova Scotia who have given me the opportunity to remain as the Premier to deliver our government. I must tell you, I'm also thinking about my colleagues who did not get across the finish line tonight. We work this closely together. You do some of the stuff we've done. It's more than colleagues. We're friends. I feel for them tonight as they deal with what's next for them. And so there's all those emotions that go through tonight.
Right now, we're showing leading and elected 27 seats. Do you think that's where it will hold?
We knew when we were coming in that we had a path to a majority. As I kept telling you guys all day and the last few days, we knew there were tight races. We thought it'd be somewhere around 27, 28 where we could get to. But there's still some votes to be counted, and we look forward to. But to be honest with you, I think it's important to recognize whether it's 27 or 26 or 5. Nova Scotians want the host to look differently. They want the host to act differently. We recognize that. I think there's stuff in our budget that we laid out that I think both parties could support. So I think there's a message in this for all of us.
Whether you form a majority or a minority, given that it is a narrow margin, do you think that things like the budget that you haven't passed yet need to change?
Well, listen, I think our budget is a document that's forward-thinking, offering pre-primary to all 4 years old across the province. I'm really proud of the work we did in there and people with disabilities, ensuring that they see themselves in this province. The work that we're trying to do in the transformation around income assistance, that's a very positive step. The tax cut for 500,000 Nova Scotians were all positive things. That's because of the hard work they've done over the last 3.5 years.
But all of that was on the table, and yet you still lost quite a few seats. You're on the cusp of a majority, but does it suggest to you that you maybe need to soften in some areas or change tax in some areas?
I think there's a message tonight for all of us. I've never shied away from that. As I said to you earlier, it doesn't matter if it's 27 or 24. There's a message sent to the people in the House of Assembly. I've heard that tonight. I recognize that in the speech. But, the Nova Scotians have given me the privilege to be their Premier once again. And part of that sometimes is you have to make decisions that not everybody's going to like. But you have to do it. When I've said this many, many times, my responsibility is to all Nova Scotians, not just a certain segment or a certain population. I have to represent everyone, and sometimes that puts you at odds with people, but I'm proud of the record I've had, and I'm looking forward to continuing this work.
I guess the question is, given where we stand now, given that you are leading and elected in 27 seats, does this in some ways embolden you heading into the next legislature, or does it humble you and make you think maybe a bit longer about the tax or the tone that you set?
No, listen, we've set a tone. I've worked with unions on other files. Obviously, it doesn't get covered. What gets covered is the stuff that, when there's a protest outside, and it's usually about money. And that's where it comes back where I said I have to represent all Nova Scotians, not just a certain percentage, and that's always the challenge. Now the two opposition parties are going to be in a position where they just can't oppose anymore. We're going to have to stand up and be accounted.
Looking back at tonight, there were a lot of ups and downs. There were some times here where this room was quiet. You could hear a pin drop. What do you make of tonight? How were you during the night? There were times where we weren't sure how much of a minority you might have, and now it looks like you could have a majority.
So we knew the difference. We knew some of these races were tight. So if you look down the board, we knew we were in all of them. So when numbers were losing, we thought our number would hold at 24 at the minimum. We didn't know if we would go above that. But the people in this room were quiet because they know me. We're neighbors, we're friends. We get to, they're wanting the best for me. It's a humbling experience when this many people are staying this late at night to want to help celebrate this with you. I've said this many times. This is the community my parents came to. It's the community that surrounded my mother and provided us with the future that we have. It's been important to me. It will always be important to me, and I'm really honored and thrilled to be able to celebrate tonight's success with them.
And lastly, you talked about losing some of your colleagues. In particular, it looks like Michelle Samson was not re-elected. Can you speak to that loss, both for you as a person, but also as a government?
Well, I don't know whether Michelle has or hasn't been, but Michelle's been obviously a strong person in our government. He's been the guy who ushered stuff through the House for us. He's one of the brightest minds I know. know. He's been a tremendous representative now for almost 20 years. You know, I don't know what his final count has been. I lost a number of, you know, Joanne Bernard, who has been a tremendous support, particularly in transforming income assistance, was a big loss for our government tonight. But Michelle is a huge loss for, you know, he was somebody I turned the house over to. He was the guy who managed our house for us. So I need to make sure of that tonight. So.
Does it send a message, though, to you as a government how you handle things when so many of your cabinet ministers were on such tight races that they were really on the line?
Well, I think when you have a government of 34 members, you know you're going to lose people. That's so. And quite frankly, cabinet ministers and I as the premier are the front line. So you're the person that people see. You know, but they've done tremendous work. We have a number of my colleagues who've returned who will continue to add strength to our team. But you know, it is a night where I have lost some very dear friends, and it's one of those that I'll reflect on even more tonight at home.
You're on the cusp of history. Not since 1988 would we see two back-to-back majorities. What do you make of that? What does it say about your government and where Nova Scotia is right now?
Well, I don't know. People have telling me I should be disappointed about it. That's all I've been hearing tonight. How disappointed I should be. When in actual fact, I know that a number of former premiers have been on television tonight and different channels. There's other people. They know how hard this is to do what's happened tonight. But still, you know, that's one of the ups of today. But one of the, you know, I'll go back to the human side of this thing. You know, these are friends of mine.
Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All the best. So, Ron, our next Premier of Nova Scotia, will it be a minority or a majority? I don't think we're quite there yet, but certainly a lot of jubilation at the very end of tonight here in Bridgetown, which is, of course, when it mattered the most. Ron?
All right, Marika, thanks so much. And I know you'll be joining the morning news, Global Morning News tomorrow.